Well, welcome back to Soapbox. We had a great day yesterday, 4 amazing competitors. Today, I think it's going to be a tough one. I think we've 9 going through today as well. So let me just start by saying this is extremely difficult for the speakers to come up and ad-lib this and work it through in 7 or 8 minutes. It's a really difficult thing to do. So I want to make sure we give them all the encouragement, all the round of applause, all the cheers and everything they deserve, because it's a really difficult thing to do, quite honestly. So. And I'm too scared to do it personally, so I'm doing the easy bit here. So today, just a couple of rules. You probably, if you saw it yesterday, you know already. But speakers have between 5 and 8 minutes. We'll time you. So when you're ready to start, we'll put you on the stopwatch. We'll give you 1 minute warning if you're in full flight, and if we hit 7 minutes, then we'll give you a little flag to say, hey, last minute. Wrap it up, please. And then we'll just open up for a few minutes of Q&A for each of the speakers. So I think we have an hour for this session today, 3 speakers. So we have a little bit of breathing space. Yesterday it was extremely tight. We were running through it. So a little bit of breathing space, but you still only get 8 minutes, I'm afraid. So I think that's it. Dave, you're first up to bat.
Do you mind if people interact during the session, or would you prefer?
No, you need to. You've got the podium, you've got 8 minutes to get through. We keep Q&A to the end, so no interaction. Keep your hands down and your thoughts in your head, and we'll try to get to you. So Dave, do you want to come on up here, and let's give Dave a round of applause. Pardon me. That's just when you're ready, Dave.
Okay.
I'll put you on the clock, so just.
All right. I was quite confident until Paul told me how difficult it was.
Don't mind me, I'm Irish, I make stuff up all the time.
I was also a little concerned when he called us competitors. So this seems like a mixture. For those of you who've ever heard, in the US there's a radio show called The Moth, where you talk extemporaneously for however long, and you do it without notes and anything like that. It's a mixture of that and stand-up comedy, without the comedy part, of course. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. If I could ask, I'd like to know who does what in the audience, and not specifically, but who's a translator? Well, that's good, because they won't like to hear what I've got to say.
All right.
Who's an LSP?
So careful what you say, Dave.
Yeah, that's right. And, well, I guess it doesn't matter. Who hasn't voted so far? Doesn't matter. Thank you. All right, so...
Good to go?
Yeah.
On the clock.
We haven't started? Oh, that's great.
There we go. You're on now.
The title of this competition was The Price is Right, or Is It? And when I submitted this soapbox 6 months ago, the amount of money that translators, my background is audiovisual translation. So when I say translators, I mean captioners and translators. The bone of contention was how much these people are getting paid. That was 6 months ago. A lot has happened in 6 months. I think the concern now is where they're going to get paid and whether they're going to get paid. I mean, it's a big deal now that, I don't know if you've had the same, but I've heard the word AI mentioned a few times over the last couple of days. And they don't cost much. My company now, which is different than the one 6 months ago, does captioning for 20 cents a minute. And that's how much we charge customers. We recently did an hour's worth of 10 videos for a computer manufacturer, and it was completely 100% correct apart from one word. So an hour's worth of content, 1 word wrong. So you can see that it really is a very different situation. So we're going to talk about the money, but I think the money is slightly less important than some of the other things. So I will also talk about what translators can do. You can tell your translator friends because they're not here. And also where they can go in the future. So it's a global economy, and now it's a remote economy. I think the translation industry has always been remote, but it's global and it's remote. So you can do your work from anywhere you like. Let's do state some facts. There's a website called Numbeo, Numbeo.com, which gives comparative cost of living numbers for different cities. I live in New York City, and that has a standard rating of 100. I wouldn't get much work if I was a translator living in New York City. Numbeo says that New York City is the 7th most expensive place to live in the world. Hamilton, Bermuda is the most expensive. Then there's 5 cities in Switzerland. Then there's New York City. Chennai, India, is, New York City has a rating of 100. Chennai has a rating of 22. Most cities are rated about 60 to 65. Phuket and Rio, 36. Cape Town is 33. And I use these because they're English speaking. Cape Town is English speaking. I hope they don't mind me saying that. There's a place called Rosario in Argentina where I've got a lot of friends. The reason I say that is a 3-bedroom apartment, according to Numbeo and according to my experience, a 3-bedroom apartment in New York City rents for about $9,000. I know that because my building, the 3-bedroom apartment is more than that. It's closer to $11,000. A 3-bedroom apartment in Rosario to rent per month is $300. So you can see that the amount of money you need to earn in one place is very different. Does somebody disagree with that number?
That's okay. Let's keep it moving, folks.
Jeez, he's a hard. I see what you mean about competitors. So even if it's an order of magnitude wrong, that's still 10,000 versus 3,000. So we can see that to live in New York City is a very different situation than living in Rosario, Argentina. On top of that, translation is a commodity. It doesn't matter where you get it done. If you get the same quality, the same turnaround, if you have the same product, it doesn't matter whether you get it done in New York City or whether you get it in Chennai. It makes no difference whatsoever. As I said about being a global economy, or a global world, I apologize for that, English-speaking TV, current English-speaking TV, is ubiquitous. Doesn't matter where you live, you can get the new Netflix, whatever. So you can keep your English-speaking skills, I assume all speaking skills, up to date. So if you live in, it doesn't matter where you live. Now, the question is, if you live in New York City, can you charge more? Do you have a right to a living wage in the place you live? Now, my answer 7 months ago was, yeah, you should have that right. I was speaking to a friend of mine who is the richest person I know. He went to school with me. He made his money through money. He was the chief investment officer at somebody doing something. I have no idea what they do. He retired and bought an English football club. And he said, no, you don't deserve to have a living wage where you live. The market will determine how much you pay. You are paid. And I said, well, that's not right. You know, but the people living in certain places can't afford to do this work. And they went, so what's your point? I mean, it's the same. The gentleman who gave the keynote speech on Monday
1 minute, Dave.
had all those graphs about manufacturing output. And the manufacturing output went down, went up, and the amount of work went down. You were there, you saw what he meant. And it's the same in this world. So I've got 1 minute left, so I'll quickly go through the other two bits. The world has changed so much that we now need to know what translators can do. My first reaction 3 months ago was they need to specialize. For example, if you can become the world's translating expert in medical devices, then your worth goes up significantly. However, we're now getting machine translation models that are trained in medical technology. So is that a good advice? It's better than no advice, but it's not great. And then the next thing, the last thing, is I was listening to somebody at the Audiovisual Technology Translation SIG on Sunday, and they came up with a term called proof listening, which is we're talking about all these artificial, synthetic voiceovers, and somebody has got to get in there after the synthetic voiceover machine has done its work and twiddle with the SSML. And nobody does that at the moment. There is no job to do that. Sounds like something that somebody ought to do, because you need the translation skills. If you can learn the SSML skills, it seems like a good job to me. All right.
We're done. So, can you hear me? Oh.
I don't think you need it, do you?
We'll do this one. We'll open it up to Q&A here for Dave. Any questions? Shoot the hand up.
Oh, that was easy.
That was very convincing, Dave. All right.
Yes,
I don't have a question itself, I just have a comment. When you said about things about the price in the market, and sometimes I agree regarding the how the market will define how you're going to be paid. And one of the things that I understand is, unfortunately, of course, is not a thing. It's not a matter of whether it's right or it's. You can say what is fair, right? Because what is right, we don't know what is right. What is right for my company? What should I pay? Comparing with what I'm receiving. So you have to decide whether you want to stay in this industry or not. It's not more of like fair or right. It's what happens in all markets, in all industries.
Yeah, and you know that if you quote a price as an LSP, you know that somebody somewhere will quote a lower price.
Exactly.
There's all the soft skills you have that you hope will make it worth, that's right, make the difference and have the customer go to you and do the work. But if it's just, here's, throw it over the wall, here's some work that we did, there's always going to be, I think most people call it the race to the bottom.
Yeah.
And it's,
Unfortunately, this is how it works.
Well, you got to try
Yeah.
and sell value, right? So that's the argument these days.
Find and
Yeah.
show the value that
Yeah.
it brings to the
Value in their mind as well. What you're offering might represent great value,
It
but
has to resonate in their mind.
exactly value, yeah.
but if you think about it from the translator's point of view, there isn't really much value you can add apart from doing what you say you're going to do it on time, and have a good quality. So try not to upset your translator friends too much. Constantine.
I'll give you this. I really want.
Viewpoint. So I didn't raise my hand when you were asking, her from LSP, because I'm not. And I heard people in 25 countries. Do I include their living wage into the salary? Absolutely. Why? Because because they do not provide me commodity services. They're unique. And if you want to stay competitive as today's business, you hire unique people. And so the very reason I think why translators are threatened that much by what you just described, because on the first hand, someone turned them into a commodity service. And how to stay competitive? Well, stop being providing commodity service. And if you're master yourself, I think the way out of this situation, out of this race to the bottom, probably in learning how to not be a commodity. That's it.
Yeah. And do you pay your workers the same no matter where they are? Do you pay them based on geographically where they are?
So we definitely don't pay more than we can.
Right. Okay, I think that answers it.
It's defined by where they are.
Yeah.
And I admit that if I would do something to make them move to Chennai or Zaire, Argentina, where cartels killing civilians to press the government, that's something Rome can't do. I got to have them living in New York.
I think we could have an entire session in this conversation here. So, Dave, well done. Give it up for Dave here, folks, please. Thank you. Well done, Dave. So next up, Alessandra Benazzi.
Thank you, Paul.
Just let me know when you're ready, and I'll get the clock.
I'm ready. I do have cheat notes, cheat sheet. But hello, everybody. I'm Alessandra. The title of my soapbox is "What's AI got to do with it?" So here we go. So of course, AI is the talk of the town, right? We have transitioned from it being a buzzword to AI being a critical part of how we conceive, construct, and correct language. So it's become a major part of what we do, or is in the process of becoming a major part of what we do. But what I really want to talk about today is the fact that we still have some enduring pain points that we've seen and we've lived for years or decades that AI is not addressing, or any other solution is still not considering at all. So that's what I would like to focus on today, actually. So let's start first with what AI is doing well in localization. So we have lots of progress in target content generation, machine translation quality estimations, automated post-editing. Lots of evolution there, lots of progress, lots of testing, lots of solutions. So those are the kind of things that promise to automate and speed up our workflows, reduce cost, and even enhance our quality. But then let's think about it. We talk about an AI revolutionizing our industry or industries in general, but are we really revolutionizing the industry, or are we just automating mediocrity? So I want to look at challenges that I've seen in my years in localization that I continue to see, and that, again, I see no solutions for. And I don't really hear anybody talk about finding solutions for these age-old problems. So in the Q&A session, I would love to know, first of all, what other challenges you see. I'm going to name 3 that I constantly see with all of my clients. And I also want to learn if there's any solutions that I don't know about to these 3 challenges. So new challenges that I don't mention, and also solutions that I don't know yet for the 3 challenges that I'm going to talk about. So the 3 challenges that I constantly see and deal with is in context, translation and reviews, in-country reviews, and segmentation, most notably sentence-level segmentation. These to me are not merely stumbling blocks, but also what really make up the essence of localization as a science, but most importantly, as an art. So let's start with in context, translation and reviews. I don't have to explain to this room the significance of context and the difference that it makes in the output quality of translation. Of course, when either machines or humans can see the text in context in how the user is going to consume the content, of course, you're going to be in a much better position to translate or edit that content to fit the purpose. Right now, the current state of affairs, at least as I know it, is that we often isolate text from the context in which it's usually used and consumed by the user. So we have translators and reviewers work in often CAT tools. Sometimes they'll have some reference material they can open up, but we're not talking about dynamic context that the translator, the linguist can work in. So really, let's think about solutions where AI or any other system is going to provide the web interface, the app interface, the multimedia platform that is being used to deliver the content to the user. Can AI provide or move us from static content, static text on a page, to dynamic content where we see, again, the content living in the platform that is going to be used by the end user? So yeah, this is the first challenge that I have yet to find a solution for. Of course, in some cases, we have some solutions that get us halfway there, but it definitely does not cover all the cases, especially when it comes to apps or web pages that have some dynamic process in them. The next one is in-country reviews. So again, you know, when we're talking about in-country reviews, we talk about cultural nuance, we talk about local slang, we talk about regional preferences, and we talk about subject matter expertise. Here, the traditional and current state is that oftentimes we force these in-country reviewers to work in CAT tools, which is an interface that is completely foreign to most people but translators. We force them to log into a platform that they normally don't work with, so really moving them away from their regular workflow, and work again in usually segmented type of interfaces that are really not very natural for them. So again, what if we can use AI or other solutions to provide them with an interface that mirrors the interface that they normally work with, or even better, allow them to work in the platforms that they work in every day without having them move away and log into a different platform. And then using AI to be an assistant, so providing this context, but also maybe aiding the review process, so providing suggestions as they're making reviews, but most importantly, learning from the input of these in-country reviewers. Maybe the AI could actually ask questions. Why did you make that change in this text? So that it can learn more rapidly and also with more context to the learning to the learning process. And then lastly, my favorite and the one that is unique to us is segmentation. So the current state is that in the majority of cases, we process our text and segment it in sentences. In some cases, especially more creative content, we may go as far as segmenting by paragraph. But still, this is still not a really natural way to speak and to understand language. And most importantly, with AI, but also with MT, the more context you provide, textual context, the better. So how do we liberate ourselves from this, from sentence level segmentation? So could AI help us understand the linguistic structures more deeply? Can we use NLP processes and techniques to mimic the cognitive processes of a human in language understanding, and then have the AI segment the text in a much more natural way that follows the natural flow of the language? So that is my question to you all. What I'm really surprised here is that we talk about how we use AI to automate tasks, but the importance of the human in the loop to really elevate the quality of the content or the output and use the human capabilities as kind of a premium value add. That sounds really good, but we're not really helping ourselves. We're not putting the human in a position to really leverage these human capabilities to their best potential, because working in sentence, segmented content is not a good way for us to use our human intellect to the best.
Well done. Well done.
Thank you. So what am I missing?
Let's go for
Are there
questions.
solutions? Are there new challenges that I
We have
haven't?
first straight up here.
Yes, Alessandra, thank you very much. SME review or subject matter expert review. We have lots of discussion within the organization about this topic because reviewers come back to us and they say, you might be as good as translators, but we have to rewrite everything. I'm better off with AI, reviewing the content myself, and then send it to you to check the linguistic part. So am I doing any grammar corrections and so forth? So my question is, why are we forcing, as you say, people to work in translation memory systems? Shouldn't we, as linguists or translators, being assistive to the subject matter experts and going to the native applications? Let's suppose that the content is written in, I don't know, Adobe Experience Manager. There you have your content, there you have your translated content created through MT or through LLMs. And then the SME reviewer can check the content, the linguist can check, so the linguistic part, let's say. Do we really need to collect all these translation memories? Because in the end, large language models can also be trained, fine-tuned with data, which is not necessarily aligned.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would just support that comment. There's nothing really I would say in addition to it. It's just really unnatural for us to work in these structures that we've created for ourselves. And maybe now we have an opportunity to break free from them, but I just don't hear the conversation around those type of solutions.
Okay, so I'll speak from experience. What we've been doing the past 3-4 years, we've been working so much on educational material. And with education, especially K-12, context is everything. What we kind of broke free from this. So what we did, it might suit some, that we are using CAT tools mainly for terminology, titles, like chapter titles and stuff like that, but we're not using it for regular translation. And then whatever we need to run through machine translation or LLMs or anything like that, we do it for the files as a whole, per subject. And review, post-editing and language review is done on clean files, and then subject matter expert works after DTP, and then we do a final QA on the content as a whole. How we deal with the client, it's they only pay the grid as per the the repetitions, yes, and the 100% match. We do not calculate fuzzies. All fuzzies are still calculated as new words because we do not deal with them differently. This model, it saved a lot of time. We reached it via trial and error, but we reached a point where we are doing more output with better quality, with less time and less cost in so many aspects. So we are not with segmentation. Especially in some types of material, and that context is very important. We do not follow that. We kind of quit using CAT tools for such material, except, as I said, for quality checks, maybe. We use the automated checks. We use AI in other things, like spell checks, automated checks, terminology checks, and all this stuff. But not for translation itself. It doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, and I would say the ultimate goal normally is to reduce time, reduce costs, and improve quality. And it seems like with your solution, you've reached the same goals.
We'll take one more, if there is one.
Yeah, give us solutions, Constantine.
I want to think about what we do for customers, because I do it on other occasions,
Yes.
but I can tell you how we use AI to what you sort of described internally. So we had a constant trouble that we're writing some content to be read by customers, by localization managers, right? And it needs to be changed because it's kind of, we don't have a localization manager to talk to. We get feedback. So what we've done, if we look at how people use LLMs, and one of the most popular use cases, like in the Valley, is to use LLM for customer development. You fine-tune LLM model to be your customer, and you're talking to this customer, like artificial customer, instead of talking to real customers, just faster. Well,
Yeah.
then you go to real customers. So we have this model internally, which basically reads our content before it goes out, and goes back to product managers, engineers, all these guys, and what do I mean here by internal language? Explain. So that's what you describe in country review. You can do that, potentially.
Thank you. Sounds good.
All right. Congratulations. Big round of applause, Alessandro. Well done. Well done. Thank you. Constantine, you might as well come on up.
Okay.
I'll start the clock when you're
Thank you. Actually, I will basically continue where Alessandro stopped, more or less.
I'm starting the clock here for you, Constantine, right?
Yep. Okay. So look, you know that machine translation is not perfect, right? So sometimes you have a segment and there are errors, you have to fix them. But what's worse, sometimes the segments translated well, but they kind of don't make sense together. And what you do, you go back and forth between them, making them consistent, then you read something down the line, you have to go back because you need to change it. And, then you realize, okay, you do twice as much job than you would do translation from scratch. What you do next? You blame. You typically first start blaming machine translation, obviously. Then you can blame translation memories, because apparently they were crap if by training machine translation model on them you got this output. You also can blame maybe writers of this content, because apparently it's not translatable if, it's so ambiguous. But in 9 times of 10, you have to blame segments. So let me explain here. So like in ancient times, in a primordial Earth, where dinosaurs were roaming around, and translators as their tools had only past translations, maybe like rule-based MT. They built a cage to protect themselves. They break the language into segments and built a cage. And, with this case, you can do fuzzy matches, you can do exact matches, you can do in-context matches, you can split your project to segments, send it to 5 different translators, let them translate in parallel. Then you build the file back. And back then, it didn't feel like you imprison yourself in this cage, it felt like it protects you. And some people still think it protects them. Just look out of this cage. What do you see out there? Well, share of fuzzy matches is dwindling because machine translation is already easier to edit than all fuzzies if it's a good machine translation. If you look at your exact matches translated differently, if you closely look at them, are they really translated differently because of the different context? Most of the times they translate differently because it was parallelized by an LSP and it was different translators, just inconsistent. So, why are you still sitting in this cage? You look outside, well, there was internet for a while, there was, beautiful Valencia Gala conference, you're still sitting in this cage. Outside there's advanced machine translation, there's AI which can read all your full document and have it translated more consistently than these 5 different translators would do that. So why we are still in this cage? I can explain why. Well, because we have a translation management system. It takes your file, it pulls text out of the context, it splits it into sentence segments, and if it's in DAPT, it splits it into sentence chunks, like try uploading a SRT file to TMS, right? And then, it has to preserve this segmentation. Because it cannot do it. It's written in code, it's software, it's not AI enabled. It cannot just reconstruct the segmentation. You have to preserve it to build your file back. And when it sends it to AI, well, it does not know how many segments AI can chew in one go. So what it does? Well, it sends these segments in small bundles, like 10 segments, 20 segments. And this mighty, giant, large language models trained on billions of dollars looking at your project, there is a keyhole. And if you fix that, that will be the single major improvement in automatic translation for you in years. So do you want to break this cage? Well, if you do, next time you are aware of the bad machine translation, write an email to your translation memory system vendor asking them when they get rid of segment-based translation. Let's make a flash mob. That's it, that's my talk.
Excellent. Still some time here if you want. So. Let's go Q&A. Have we questions? You might as well. You're 3 for 3 already.
We built an entire business model around it, around the segmentation. We price per word, we price per reuse. So to get free of that cage, we need to get free of the entire business model. How realistic is that?
Well, I think, I'm a newbie, right? I'm just 6 or 7 years in the industry. I know nothing. I can just ditch your legacy. I don't care. But in reality, I think essentially yes. But it's probably not possible. But I think AI can be kind of, can make good crutches for that. Meaning that, well, segmentation, you can reconstruct it before calculating how much, like what just was described about, you can actually do, you can work in full text and then calculate all those fuzzies however you want it. Much like when I had a brief moment in my lifetime when I worked as a post-editor. I was writing my PhD, I didn't have enough money, so I had this Stratos dongle and I was doing post-editing of Nobel Prize winner lectures in medicine. I had no idea, right? But they paid. And what we did, often, we just exported data, worked on project in Word, then imported back to Trados. It calculated how much we got paid. Okay, it's fine. So it's possible to do. It's possible to. It's actually okay to break segments after you ingested the file, if you can use AI to reconstruct it back. You cannot use software to do that. It will not work. I mean, as an engineer, I can tell you. But you can use it as a kind of crutch to assemble it back after it's done. And then, like another thing, like what we do sometimes, and some people know we're working on that, when we receive these small chunks from TMS, and we actually join them, they run it, and then we split it back and say, oh, sorry, it took so long. It's just, so I think it's possible to do step by step. And in parallel, I know that many, enterprises are also quite unhappy with work model for the same reason. And I think they're doing some push to change this to a different model on the LSP side. I know Johan, I think, made some talks about that. Right? Working on it.
Okay, any other
Flash
questions?
mobs, right?
Anyone else? Don't be shy. We have the time. Okay.
Thanks a lot. It's amazing to hear such knowledgeable people and with so much experience. If translation, in my view, if we keep the pricing model, translation is going to be still a commodity more and more. The biggest danger that I see is that there will be less and less translators. So I'm totally for this get rid of this cage approach. I think it made sense years ago to use CAT tools, but nowadays, like when I think, I was a translator when I was much younger, and I started translating products for SAP, then machine translation came in, and I lost my job. And then I started working on transcreation, and translation agencies pushed for MT, And advertising agencies hated CAT tools because they thought that it restricted their creativity. It was not intuitive. They just had to do it because it looked cheaper, but in fact it wasn't. It's not that the pricing model is going to make things cheaper for you as a client, and you're not going to get better quality, and most importantly, you're not going to have resources, because in 20 years, I don't know if it's just me, but I had real trouble hiring translators. There are less and less. So we're killing the profession through CAT tools, if you ask me.
Yeah, but like for example, in I think about maybe 70 years ago, there were lots of people doing manual computations. How they were called? Counters? Because I was not around back then. Does somebody know how they were called, these people? People who just sit with a calculator and calculators, I guess. We don't have much of them. Calculator. Computers, maybe. And so, right. And I mean, sometimes it's maybe the same people, but what they do is not called that. And I can easily imagine that we don't have translators, meaning that people doing this one-to-one translation, but we'll get people doing some bigger things, because much like, that's my kind of my favorite insight about LLMs, if I may. So like if you ask LLM to translate for you text, right? It does what you expect it to do. It will be no better, well, in general, on average, no better, no worse than machine translation. But the problem is in T-word, in translation word. Because when you ask LLM to translate, well, where it learned what translation means, it learned it by reading internet. It's like this kid who learned, things on YouTube. Just don't use this word translate. If you describe to LLM what you actually want to do with text, like why? Just try. You will see the result is much better. Just don't use the word translate. That's it. So that's.
Okay. Just wondering, Konstantin, if you're seeing any solutions for the context question. So either MT or LLMs being able to use visual context to enhance the output, or also providing context to reviewers,
I think
translators.
it's important what we call context, right? Because it may be visual context.
Visual, yeah.
It may be also metadata. And with visual, I just think we need to wait a little bit more. We already have multimodal networks. They're very young. But for metadata context, we had a talk actually at, I think, XDM Live about how we worked with a client on translating videos. In these videos, the context was very important because it was translating how people talk. And in most of the languages, you need to know gender of those people to properly translate it. So we needed this context, and we need to add it, but it turned out if you use XLIF files, you cannot really put it somewhere, so we had to make like that, so that we can pass this context through TMS system and get it to the point where AI is applied. I think that will be the biggest bottleneck, because in 6 months from now, with like GPT-5 or whatever, you will be able to show it a picture and say, look, and of course, there is a word help. It will not translate it as save our souls, because it sits, it's like an interface, Adobe, whatever, Photoshop. But the challenge will be in your existing legacy kind of infrastructure, how you actually make it there where AI sits. And that's a big question.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you. Big round of applause, please. Thank you to our 3 speakers today. Like I said, you're very brave to get up and do it. Awesome. Thanks so much. Thank you, guys, for participating. 3 more sessions this afternoon. If you fancy, we're across in the other room later on, so more to come. Thank you.